Hopefully we're ready to go. So welcome everyone, thanks for checking in. My name's Josh Tidswell. I'm a sports and exercise physiotherapist up here in Darwin. My background is predominantly in AFL. I used to work for the North Melbourne Kangaroos before returning back up here to Darwin to start my practice. My particular areas of interest are the shoulder and knee, but for today's session, we're going to go over the principles of sports taping. So I'm pretty pedantic when it comes to my sports taping. And so Todd from Elastoplast has asked me to go over some of the key principles. And these are principles that I've sort of come up with, or these are things that I think about every time I'm taping, whether I'm taping an ankle, a knee, a shoulder, a finger, a thumb, whatever it might be. First of all, I want to thank Todd and Elastoplast for putting these webinars together at such short notice. We're all in a very unfamiliar state at the moment in the world, so hopefully you're all checking in there, looking after yourselves and keeping active. We've got two, or at least one Elastoplast admin assigned in to the talk. If you have any questions during the talk, if you can direct them to Elastoplast admin, and then we'll get to them towards the end. Just a disclaimer from Elastoplast as well, or I guess on behalf of Elastoplast, always read the labels on the tapes or the taping boxes. If you do have, follow the instructions. If you do have any persistent symptoms or ongoing symptoms, then speak to your health professional. All right, let's get started. So as I said, today we're covering key principles to taping. Now I've made these up, or I've sort of put these together. We've got 5 key principles. One is purpose, the other tape, and tape selection is crucial. The direction in which we want to tape, in this instance the ankle, the tension that we're going to apply, and then the finish we'll talk about in a bit more depth towards the end. So 5 principles: purpose, tape, direction, tension, and finish. As I said, we're going to use the ankle. So Tavian's volunteered his ankle for today. And for the sake of today's discussion, the ankle is a bit more of a simpler joint when we're talking about the principles. But as I said, they apply to other joints and other types of taping. Eddie Farrer is going to be covering ankle taping next Tuesday. So at 6 p.m. next Tuesday, we'll cover a bit more in depth of how to tape an ankle. So today we're more so going to talk about what to think about prior to the taping and when you're applying the taping. This for today, for the sake of today's talk as well, we'll talk more so about taping. This is going to be a structural tape. So we're going to predominantly use a rigid tape, and then we'll chuck an overwrap on it afterwards. So first of all, we talk about our number one purpose, which is our number one, principle, which is purpose. So what are you wanting to achieve? For this particular scenario, we're going to assume that Tavian's had an inversion injury to the ankle, and this is old. Let's say he's returning back to sport and he's had some lateral ligament disruption. So we want to tape Tavian's ankle to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So our purpose is to lock that ankle to stop it from inverting. Sounds pretty simple. Some of them aren't quite that simple. One of the key things before or in coming up with your purpose is you have to know your anatomy. Now, for physios, as much as sports trainers, chiros, osteos, anyone else who's checked in, just knowing that basic anatomy is crucial. If a player comes up to you on game day and says, strap my ankle, there's many different ways that you can do it. You want to make sure that you're not doing any harm to that ankle. So have a simple understanding of your anatomy, and that'll help you with your purpose. Number 2, you've got to select your tape. Now we're taping, let's say that Tavian's torn the lateral ligaments in his ankle. So we're taping to protect that ankle to ensure that he doesn't have recurrent sprains. The tape we use, and the tape, my preferred tape, is the Leuco Premium tape. So 38mm is generally enough, or the size-wise is generally most suitable for ankle taping. If we go up to knees or shoulders, or if we have a bigger person, then you could go up to 50mm. But the Leuco Premium tape in 38mm is solid as. If we I've already put on the underwrap. So this is a hypoallergenic tape, the white tape, the Elastowrap is already on there. That's just to protect the skin. And then we're going to go over the top with an EAB. Again, 50mm EAB overwrap, which is the Leuco Light. So if we get started, I'll just quickly chuck on, so we've chosen our tape, we know our purpose. I'll just chuck on a quick anchor. So we've chosen our tape, we've got the Leuco rigid tape. We've got the under wrap there, the Leuco wrap underneath to protect the skin. Now we want to work out what direction we're going to take Tavian's ankle in. So remembering that Tavian's hurt his ankle this way. So we want to tape it to oppose that. So it's no use us starting the tape on the lateral side of the ankle and pulling his foot into the position that he's injured it. We have to bring it back out and tape it into that everted position. Yeah, makes sense? So if we start our tape on the medial side of the foot, Tavian's going to hold his ankle just up at 90 there. If we start the tape on the medial side of the foot, our direction is medial to lateral, which is going to help prevent Tavian's ankle going back into inversion. After we've chosen the direction, we've got to get the tension right. So tension is the fourth point. This is crucial. You could put 5, 6, 7 pieces of tape on this ankle. If you don't get the tension right, that tape, when the player stands up, isn't going to feel like it's supporting that joint. So we've got the tape, we've got the direction, we know our purpose. Let's get the
that's fine. So we can lock that tape in on the outside with good, strong tension, coming laterally, pulling Tavian's ankle into inversion. Yeah? If we chuck a couple of extra ones on there, so again, we start from the medial aspect. We're just going to fan this out a little bit for the sake of today's talk. Once again, there's our tension. If we can lock Tavian into that everted position with 2 or 3 stirrups, he's not going to be able to roll that ankle back in. Third one on. This tape comes off the roll easy, tears easy, and sticks nicely. Tape's crucial up here in Darwin because of the weather, and I'm sure it's crucial everywhere, but up here in Darwin, because we sweat so much because it's so hot, this tape is absolutely crucial to get the right tape and to apply it correctly so it stays on throughout the game. So we've got just 3 stirrups on there for Tavian to start with. We've pulled his ankle into eversion, that's the direction, and we've pulled up nicely on the tension, so Tavian's ankle's locked there. Now we can go ahead and do 6 stirrups, heel locks, etc. We'll leave that for Eddie to cover off on Tuesday next week. So, go back to number 1. The purpose of our tape was to stop Tavian's ankle rolling in. Yeah, we're all over that. We know the anatomy, we know he's injured his lateral ligaments in his ankle. Number 2, we chose the correct tape. So we've got our Leuco rigid tape, which has gone over the top of a hypoallergenic skin prep tape or Leuco wrap or Elasto wrap. So we've got our tape. The direction of pull, we know because we know our anatomy and we know how Tavian injured his ankle, and then that tension is crucial. So tension comes in at number 4, and then number 5 is the finish. Now, say for the ankle, for example, we need to stay away from the base of that 5th metatarsal, so bony landmark there, which can be quite uncomfortable for a player. We want to make sure we're supporting the ankle joint or the talar joint. We want to make sure that our tension's correct. I'll just put a lock on that one. We want to make sure that our tension's correct, and then we can look to do something with our EAB overwrap. Now the EAB overwrap, the main idea of this, if you get your tension right with the rigid tape, then this is really just to support that rigid tape, possibly provide a little bit of proprioceptive feedback, but really to support that rigid tape so that these edges are designed to and tear really easily on the rigid tape. Yeah, that's fine, but we don't want the tape to do that. If Tavian did come down heavily on his ankle, this overwrap is going to stop that rigid tape from tearing. So the support that you get for the ankle structure comes from the Leuco rigid, and then the EAB protects that Leuco rigid just in case Tavian comes down on it hard enough to tear the rigid tape. So if we're going to apply that in a similar means. I don't think it matters too much, and Eddie can go over this perhaps a bit more on Tuesday, whether you start from the foot up or whether you start up at the ankle. But I think you still want to use those similar principles in terms of following that tape into an everted position. So we'll go. So this is where we're following it. The most area that would be prone to trauma or damage is just on the lateral aspect here. This tape doesn't need to be firm because we've already got the tension right with our rigid tape. And then we can cut that off. And knock it off again with our rigid. All right, let's just recap again those 5 key principles. Number 1 is purpose. What are you taping for? What's your anatomy? Know which structure you're taping to support. Number 2, select the right tape. Now, rigid tape for your ligament injuries, whether it's a knee injury, AC joint injury in the shoulder, shoulder dislocation, ankles, what else we got? Fingers, thumbs, etc. Rigid tape. Rigid tape is the one that's not going to stretch. If you want to put your overwraps over the top, that's perfect to protect that tape. Now, if tape enrolls his ankle, that's not going anywhere. Under wrap there is to protect the skin. Number 3 is direction. So again, we've gone through the start. We need to tape from medial to lateral. Number 4 is the tension. That's the crucial part. If we get the tension right, we can get away with 2, 3, 4 bits of tape. If you don't get the tension right, we'll end up with 6, 7, 8 bits of tape on the ankle. Player will stand up and it still won't feel like it's blocking that movement. And then finish. Finish means that we're avoiding key bony landmarks, which are going to cause discomfort or cause the player to want to take the tape off or not be comfortable running around in full stride when they get on the pitch. What was going through there? So finish. So we've got no creases through there. We're not cutting in anywhere on tabian skin. We're away from bony landmarks, and we've met the purpose of what we were trying to do. So finish is really the quality of have you met the purpose. So if I've got tabian standing up right now, I guarantee you that ankle's not going anywhere. So that's the key to the finish. Mate, I'm pretty much wrapped through all that pretty quick. Have we got some questions or something that we can get to? Admin? Got some questions in front of me. When would you elect to use a heel lock or figure 8? The main times that I would use a heel lock or figure 8, and again, I think every physio would probably be different, but the main times I would use a heel lock, or I probably don't use a figure of 8, but a modified sort of heel lock or a figure of 6 is the more you need to add to an ankle. I'm still a firm believer that if you get your direction and tension, and if you follow these principles right, then you won't need to put too much tape on. And particularly when it comes to a footy or soccer player, where the boots are quite thin, quite narrow, they don't want big bulky tapes on. So I would use more so those sort of end stage taping techniques, heel lock, or figure of 8, or even sort of some 6s, if it's quite an unstable ankle, or if the patient or player stands up and doesn't feel like it's giving them enough support. So if they get up, and a good test before you put the overwrap on is to get the player to stand up, jump around on it, hop around on it, go for a bit of a run. If they feel it's not giving them the support, then you're going to chuck another piece on, whether that's another 6, a tighter stirrup, or a heel lock. That's completely up to you. That's Wendy. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, shoot another one through. Tina, heel lock versus figure of 8. I found it depends on a lot on the player. I'm strapping and their preferences. Yeah, I agree. Some people prefer to have it. Again, if you're familiar with taping a certain player or person, and you can give them a good ankle taping without needing the heel lock, don't do what you don't need to do. At the end of the day, if you can lock that ankle out and give it the support, and the player jumps up and feels the support, they're not going to be asking for a heel lock. How much support is rigid tape going to provide over time, e.g. repetitive movement of the tape will loosen and support will reduce? This is why, again, the quality of your taping is crucial. The product, perfect. Like I said, we live up in Darwin. This is probably some of the harshest sort of climates when people are out running sport. You can't get players out to do warm-ups without putting the tape on. And this is the same when I lived and worked in Melbourne. The tape goes on first. The glue has time to react or melt or stick. And then the player goes and exercises or plays their sport. But I've never had an issue with this losing its rigidity, I guess, or its tightness. The only reason, and I don't often do the overwrap, but the only reason I do that is if I'm concerned that the player is doing this quite sloppy, or if it is in a joint such as the shoulder or something where it's prone to excessive movement. If it's prone to excessive movement, it means there's a chance that the tape can either let go or tear. Now, there's not a lot you can do about that, and that's why you start using things like your under wrap and then your over wraps or your EAVs. So I haven't found any, I'm not sure where that came from, but how much support is rigid tape going to provide over time with repetitive movements, etc. I've got, obviously, if they're playing a sport, you take an ankle or shoulder or knee. I've very rarely had anyone that needs to be retaped on the day for that sport, unless they've had to have a shower at half time, like we've done or something, and we retape just before the third quarter starts staying footy. But in terms of patients, if I take an ankle, patients often leave it on for 2 to 3 days, particularly if we've got the underwrap on there for the skin prep. So 2 to 3 days up here is not unusual, and that could be them out running, jumping, training even, and it stays on, not an issue. Does taking direction and tension matter as much with shoulders, knees, elbows, etc.? Absolutely. I think, and again, some of the other guys that are presenting, there's some great physios and practitioners presenting on the course. Everyone's going to have their own way of doing things, and probably similar but variable principles to their taping. We've tried to, we teach a lot of taping up here in Darwin, and we've tried to come up with something that we could come up with an acronym or something catchy, but we try to come up with something that, if you think about it in terms of purpose, tape, direction, tension, you're not going to miss anything. If you've got that basic anatomy knowledge, you're not going to miss anything. If you're trying to take a medial ligament on a knee, it's got to be exactly the same thing. You have to know, what does that medial ligament do? How can we stop it from doing what it's doing? If you're taking a shoulder and you know that's an anterior or prone to or has before been an anterior dislocation, there's a certain way to try and take that to stop you coming out into those prone positions. You're taking for an AC joint, it's the same thing. That AC joint, you're trying to support or lift that humeral head or the acromial component and bring the two bones back together. If you're taking for a thumb, that's been dislocated or damaged that way, same thing, you're going to try and tape it to do the opposite. So direction and tension is crucial, no matter what joint you're taking for. That varies when you're taking for other proprioceptive type things. But as I said, for the sake of today's presentation, we're talking about taking for joints or ligament capsule damage, etc. And those principles are crucial. How much support is rigid tape going to provide over time? That's the one. That was Helen. Thanks, Helen. If the player requires both Achilles and ankle support, is a different taping method required? Patrick, yeah, good question. Absolutely. The Achilles, we don't want to tape to, I guess, block movement as much as we do for a joint. I tend to use, and this is probably going a little bit off of the scope of the talk, but I tend to use the Elastoplast to tape an Achilles. It has, I guess, almost just enough give or tension, but it's also quite rigid when you get it to the end of the stretch. And there's a nice ankle tape, Patrick's asking that. Mate, if you want to get in contact after, I'm happy to show you that one because it is quite a nice tape for the Achilles. I'd pop that on first before I put on the ankle tape, but definitely I wouldn't be using the rigid tape. So back to key principle number 2. My tape selection for an Achilles tape would be the Elastoplast, and happy to show you that, mate, either later date or touch base after. I treat basketballs who play tournaments. This is from Lisa. May play 3 games over 8 hours. How long does the tape hold for? Do they need to take each game, or how long will it hold for? I would hope if you take it at the start of the day, Lisa, we do this quite a bit for tournaments, particularly basketball, netball tournaments, tennis players often play multiple games in a day. I think if you're taping it correctly and get the tape on long enough before they go out and warm up, that's probably, again, a good scenario where you pop the overwrap on just to support the rigid tape, but that should last for the 3 games. The only reason I would retake that is that if the player did shower in between games, which I guess runs the risk of loosening that tape, or if the player felt, and I don't normally ask the players, they'll come to me if they feel like it's too loose. But if the player comes to me and says, look, that tape feels like it's loosened up a bit, by all means, obviously, you retake it. But I think if you get the tension on first and then have the EAB overwrap over the top, you shouldn't have to retake that for the day, particularly in a basketball or a tournament that's indoors. What else have we got? What tape should I use when supporting a muscle injury, again, like a hamstring or a thigh muscle? We'll cover this one. I can't remember the exact date of my next talk, but we talk more about tapes then and which ones to use for what scenarios. Yeah, it depends. Probably depends what sport. Depends what sport. It depends on what you mean by trying to protect it. I'd usually use a hand tearable over the top of like a tubing boot type stuff. So again, happy to talk about that probably in the next talk. But the hand tearable's got a little bit more give, and then the material sock underneath is just a bit of protection against the skin. But you get a nice bit of compression around. You may choose to put some rigid tape underneath that to give a bit more support. But generally speaking, if you just want a compressive effect around that muscle, then I'm happy to use a material top sock with the hand tearable, and probably, depending on the size again, that comes in 50 or 75 mil, so you can make a choice for those. If a player, this is Anthony, if a player suffers a mild ankle ligament strain during a game, what is your experience in straightening the ankle after the injury so they can finish the game? Yep, spot on, good question, mate. It's all about if a player gets injured during a game and you bring them off the field and an assessment is occurring to see whether they're right to go back on, whether you're assessing them physically to see has it swollen already, is there any deformation, I guess, what their ligament tests are. I'd be strapping that ankle before I do too much of a functional assessment on them, mainly because if you know they've rolled their ankle, even if they've only done a grade 1 injury or a very basic or mild injury, that injury or that ankle is at risk of further injury. So I'd get that tape on straight away, then get them up to do your assessment or see if they can jump or run or change direction to kick for you, depending on what the sport is. Hopefully that answers that for you, Anthony. And then if you've done, again, a nice solid tapes or anything just to finish that, and they get up and they can't run around or they can't jump, then at least you know there's nothing you can do. That's an acute injury or it's too bad, they are starting to sit on the bench. Sharon, how long after an injury would you recommend putting tape on a joint? Another good question. I would say as soon as possible. You have to be a little bit careful about the swelling and how much the joint is bled. So if I was to put this on tape in straight away and he kept playing, likelihood is that continues to bleed. If this was an acute injury, likelihood is this continues to bleed, and then the foot might swell up. We have to be careful of sort of neurovascular supply to the distal extremity. So I like to put it on pretty soon after. But having said that, if somebody had just injured their ankle and they weren't going to play on, then I'd again be using a material sock, tubing top sock, with the hand terrible as a compression straight away. I'm a big fan of compression with ice, but I'd rather choose compression over ice. If taping wasn't to play on, if he just done his ankle and he wasn't to play on compression, he was to play on rigid tape and then worry about the icing and compression after the game. How long do you reckon tape will support the joint during a game or sport activity? I think we sort of went over that. Fred, I think it supports, I'm not sure that there's too many games, or I've taped guys' ankles who run 24-hour ultra marathons or ultra trail runs, and it's held up for 24 hours, and that's through changing socks and shoes every 3 or 4 hours, or running up and down hills and through lakes or puddles or rivers, whatever. So I think, again, if you put it on and choose the right products, it'll last easily for that period of time that the sport goes on. With regards to under-wrap for an ankle prior to implementing the 38mm rigid, what would be the most effective technique? I think the biggest thing, if we're talking about using something like the Luca wrap, the big thing, that's to protect the skin. That's what it's designed for. It's a hypoallergenic tape for those who do get an irritation to the other tapes. So I think the best way to put that on is to follow the areas that you're going to tape. So for the sake of today, I put this on earlier, obviously, but we just put it around where we were going to put the anchor, and then follow where we put the stirrups. In hindsight, with the overwrap, we'd probably cover some of that as well, just to make sure that the player or patient didn't get a skin irritation if they're prone to it, or if they're going to keep it on for more than just a game. So if it's going to be a 24, 48, 72 hour thing, same deal. I just cover the areas that we're going to cover with either the rigid or the EAB tape. I cover that with the underwrap or the Elastoplast. Why do you prefer Luca wrap over competitor underwraps? Look, once again, nothing against competitor underwraps. This one sticks nicely, protects the skin. Most people that do get, and I'm prone to it as well, irritation from the rigid tape have barely any irritation from the Elastoplast. So sticks well, doesn't give the skin irritation. Sticks well with the skin, doesn't give the skin irritation, and then the rigid tape etc. stick well to it. And it's also a nice one when you come back up to the shoulder. I can't remember who's going over that, but shortly, in a couple of weeks, someone will be going over the shoulder tape if they haven't already. I find it quite a nice one to stick at the front, across the chest, where you attach your anchors to, and same at the back. It sticks to the skin nicely and just adds a nice little anchor point, rather than having to run big strips around the chest or try and lock that down. I find I use the 10cm version, but a strip of that at the front and a strip of that at the back, where your anchors start and finish, is a great way just to add that little bit more support from the tape coming off when we go down. What else have we got? Have you ever heard of taping being used as a placebo effect? What are your thoughts on this? I think there's a lot of people, a lot of players in particular, that get taping because it feels better or it feels nicer when they're running around. I have no dramas with that at all. The last thing that you want, if you're covering a sport, is a player who's running around and is not confident with what they've got. So if somebody's running around and feels like they're going to injure their knee, look, are they going to injure their knee? Maybe not, but you don't want to be the one who doesn't take their knee and then they go out and injure their knee. So absolutely, there's probably in many situations a big placebo effect to taping. But in this case, when you're doing rigid taping, look, nobody's going to stand up after putting a rigid ankle tape, good rigid ankle tape on, and go, "Well, that feels terrible." Most people stand up and go, "Wow, that feels much more supportive." Now, if they're playing basketball, netball, football, soccer, tennis, high-risk sports for ankle injuries, then I know a lot of sports and a lot of more elite clubs or state programs are, I don't know about forcing, but encouraging players to take them for every single game. Now, whether that's necessary or not, I think, particularly with the ankle tape, it's a nice way to prevent a very common injury. It's not super expensive, it's not super hard to do. We've done a couple of videos with Elastoplast and we'll do a few more of taping your own ankle. For the sake of what it does, I think if you take a good rigid ankle and you prevent an injury, then you won. I don't use or heard about an overwrap before for soccer. Do I need to start using this? This is Peter. You don't need to start using it, no. And like I said, it does add to the time depending on how many players you're taping for. It does add to the time. I guess, apart from time, I mean, the cost of it, but apart from time, that's the only thing that you're sort of losing from doing it. I think the biggest thing is, again, soccer is a high-risk sport. If you're taping an ankle, it just gives it it's just another element to it. So do you need to do it? No, you don't. But I reckon you'll find players when they stand up with the overwrap on, it just feels that little bit nicer, adds the compressive effect and probably more of a proprioceptive effect. So the rigid tape blocks that inversion, but I think the overwrap adds more of that proprioceptive effect. So I think it's a good thing to use. For shoulders, absolutely, I think you should use the overwrap. For knees, absolutely, I think you should use the overwrap. Ankles, this range, which our ankles are supposed to go in and go through with running, we're not blocking that, so that's not going to disrupt our rigid tape. Knee tapes or probably elbow shoulder tapes, those joints go through different planes of movement and perhaps bigger planes of movement, so they're probably big ones to use, something like the ABS and preparation. What's the best option for providing support during water-based sports? Yeah, that's a tough one. Only sort of water-based sports I'll tape for is swimming, and again, I think the biggest thing is getting that tape on early enough. So if you get the tape on early enough before the patient or athlete hits the water, then you're going to give that glue a chance to react, which is what it does once you put it on. If I took this tape off Tavian now, it's only been on there for 15, 20 minutes, then it's going to be quite easy to take off. If I go to take that off in an hour's time, it's going to be a little bit harder. So I think if the skin's prepped well and the tape's on early enough, then that shouldn't be an issue for your water sports. It obviously adds a slightly more difficult element, but shouldn't be an issue if you've got the tape on correctly and in good time. What do you prefer, Luke or wrap? Covered that one. What do you use for the sweaty player? Yeah, that's another good one. And again, up in Darwin, we looked at this sprays, and Todd will have to confirm the names of the sprays. There's adhesive sprays that you can use. I tend not to use them. I don't love them, and they're definitely sticky. But I think if you've got the right tape on when the player isn't sweaty, then these will hold quite well. So if you get on early enough, like I said, these will hold quite well. If you do need to use the sprays, we'll get that the name off Todd shortly. I don't use them much, and like I said, Darwin's probably one of the sweatiest places. But we get the patient straight into the room when they rock up to the game, straight into the medical room, and those who need to be taped get taped before they're outside and get sweaty. What else have we got? A couple more questions. Achilles tape, Wendy. I'm happy we'll work it out with Todd, or if we hang around for 5 minutes after, I'll show you the Achilles tape. We've got Annie. I often find it difficult finding the right tension, but also making sure ankle tape is not too tight around the tip and movements. Yeah, I think when you're doing your stirrups, you shouldn't be anywhere near those. And remember, the tension only has to come up on the lateral aspect if we're taping for ankle inversion. Once you start doing your sixes and things and cutting across those tapes, 100% you do have to be careful. That's probably a bit of a practice thing, Annie, to be honest. I think the big thing there, we'll just chuck this over, is trying not to really cut in across the front. You've got to remember our tension still needs to come up from the bottom there. So rather than trying to pull that really tight all the way across, if we keep the tension right as it comes underneath the heel, then we can almost lay it down across to be a 6 Annie, and then you're not worrying so much about it coming in through here. But yeah, good question. That is tough and a problem that a lot of practitioners have. A few people are interested in Achilles tape. That's easy enough. I think that's a bit. Just remind everyone the swimming carnival rules, under FINA rules, you cannot use any tape at all. I'm pretty sure those FINA rules have changed a little bit. We've covered a swimming carnival up here. We didn't end up taping anyone, but I'm pretty sure there's some leniency to that. Happy to be corrected, but I think there's some leniency to that taping for swimming. I'm not sure the exact ins and outs. Do you change your ankle tape technique if it's a high ankle sprain? Yep, good question. Good question, Matt. Yep, there is a slightly different one. High ankle sprain is the syndesmosis joint up higher. Completely different tape. Probably use that in conjunction with an ankle tape. But again, that goes on first. And again, we go back to purpose. What are we trying to do? Well, the syndesmosis is supposed to hold the tip and fib together down the bottom there. So that's what we're going to try and do with our tapes. Again, we've got a couple of different tapes that we've done, videos that we've done with Elastoplast. We'll direct you to those so you can have a look at how we tape the distal to the fib joint. And that's it, I think, guys. Anyone, we'll start out with admin where we've got 5 minutes just to show you the Achilles tape that I do. But otherwise, thanks for checking in. Remember that Eddie Farrow, the Rabbitohs physio, has got the next talk next Tuesday. So if you're getting onto that, log on to the website and register. Yeah, thanks for having me. Any questions, happy to answer them through the Elastoplast guys. And as I said, we've got time to go through that. Thanks, guys.